Welcome to Bookclub no Kiseki. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And the portion of Falcom's Kiseki series we'll be playing today is the final portion of Kevin Game, Trails in the Sky the Third, covering the final chapter entitled The Future We Dream of.
It took us 8 months to beat the shortest Trails in the Sky game.
Yep. The shortest Trails game, to be clear. Whoops. But thankfully, this one was the one that we wanted to stretch out because we had a lot of time to kill before Crossbell happened. So it was never a big deal when we had to push back. But we were supposedly going to have like a 2-month break, and we ended up having no break.
I mean, there's like still a month until the release, but if we do bonus content, then we won't have much of a break, no.
Yeah. But before we get started talking about the ending of this sub-series of a sub-series of a sub-series, how's the wife and kids?
Well, I don't have those, but I have been playing short video games. We play a lot of long video games around here on Bookclub no Kiseki, but I've been playing some short video games. I played through Super Castlevania 4 and Castlevania Rondo of Blood and Castlevania Bloodlines, and those were all great. And I was like, man, I love short games. So I was going through all the myriad games I have legal physical copies of, and I was like, let's randomly play Disney's Aladdin for the Sega Genesis. And I played it a little bit. I didn't like it. So I was like, let's play Disney's Aladdin for the Super Nintendo. And I played it, and I really liked it. And I played the whole thing, and it was really good. Then I played Star Fox for the Super Nintendo, which I thought was just going to be like a tech demo sort of thing, but it rules. It's so good. And then I played Sonic the Hedgehog Chaos for the Sega Game Gear, and it sucked. It had really good graphics, though.
Yeah, I love the Game Gear Sonic games because they're Sonic games and not because they're good. I will say that Triple Trouble is the best one, and there's that new total conversion of Sonic 3 to just be a 16-bit version of Triple Trouble, which is fantastic.
Yes, I want to play that. There's also a... I got really excited because I saw there was a fan game of Sonic Chaos, which I saw a trailer for it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. The trailer was from 2018, so I was like, surely this is done. But no, it's not done, and I don't think it's going to be done.
Yeah. That's the thing that sucks, since like emulation and fan games became like really cool and interesting things to do in like 2002, because the internet has archived all of that shit over the last 2 decades. And so I will have the idea like, oh man, it would be great to play Boku no Natsuyasumi. Let me go see if there's a fan patch for it, and I'll find a link. It's like, hey, I'm working on this. It'll be out next spring. And I'm like, awesome. I only have to wait till next spring. And then I look, and it's dated 2003, and that next spring never came. And there's an awful lot of those out there.
Yes.
What about you, Matt? How are your wife and kids?
One's tired and the other one's shedding. Let you decide which is which.
Yeah, you can tell Rebecca that Bondsley hair restoration is highly recommended.
Fair. I also played short games this week. I played Definitely not stalling to grab my Switch to see what I played. That's not what's happening.
Mm.
Cult of the Lamb. That's the name of it.
Is that good?
It's really good. It is a particular flavor of like cute but twisted humor from like the mid-aughts. That's real good.
Nice. Yeah, it kind of gives me the vibe of like Neurotically Yours type mid-aughts vibes.
Yeah, it's very it's not quite Happy Tree Friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite
Is it those bunnies that were on the t-shirts and stuff that said mean things?
Yeah. It's Happy Bunny.
It definitely like is a little evocative of that, because like, okay, so for those of you who don't know, the premise of the game is you are killed, but you are resurrected by a bound god, and also you're a cute little lamb who wears a cute little hat. And he's like, hey, I need you to start a cult and also kill these other dudes. And you say, sure, I'll start a cult. And like you spend half the time cleaning up their poop in the beginning of the game until you build an outhouse. And then you're also like going out and fighting the followers of the other gods. And it's very critical of modern religion, but also a little like nihilistic. I know this suffers from like the Boss Baby syndrome, but I almost want to compare it to like almost Invader Zim kind of like irreverent, casual disregard for existence.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good. The roguelike part isn't all that fun. Interestingly, but the town building and like the decorating and like sacrificing your villagers to your eldritch god, that's super fun. What else did I play? I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, we are recording this a week after instead of 2 weeks after, so we have a lot less stuff going on.
This is very important. I paid US dollars for the PlayStation 5 copy of Lawnmower Simulator. Boy, oh boy. Let me share the picture of this case in the Discord, because this is great media comment. I'll do it in the Bookclub no Kiseki. Just gonna drop it in Q&A, because it gets worse the longer you look at the cover. It's fantastic.
Okay. Ancient Britain and Dino Safari.
Yeah. I have mowed 2 lawns. It is weirdly cathartic.
Nice. I love that Farm Simulator came out so that everyone could be like, "Oh, let's just make games about boring shit and it's going to be great." And it has been great. Like most of them, surprisingly, people are like, "Yeah, so in Euro Truck Simulator, you get in a truck and you just drive from France to Serbia, and that's cool. And you just do that for 15 hours, and that's the game." And it's like, okay, dope. I'd play that.
There is Bus Driver Simulator coming out later this year.
Mm-hmm.
You just drive a bus in this big city. I think one of the options is like Madrid. and New York, and it's just a realistic city, and you're driving a big bus, and it's just Farming Simulator has opened my eyes to like, man, mundane shit's fun when there's no stakes.
Yeah. Speaking of, wait, I think I talked about it last week. Did I talk about Stardew last week?
Yes. Well, you talked about it on something at some point.
Yeah, one of them. So besides Stardew Valley, which is still the number one thing I do, turns out that it's not the Steam Deck that's making it take 10 minutes to load. One of the mods I have is currently broken, and it's doing that even on my beefy ass gaming PC. So hopefully that will get fixed soon, and it won't take me a literal 15 minutes to get into the game. But the other thing I've been doing, so me and my partner, my new partner, are getting to know each other by trading things. And one of the things that we are trading is books. So I lent them a copy of Odd Thomas, one of my favorite books, and they lent me Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. Have you read Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower?
I haven't read a book.
Cool. Octavia Butler's...
I was going to make a joke about it. I've written more books than I've read, so...
So Parable of the Sower takes place in the year 2024. It was written in 1991. And she got it right. Everything about it is 100% accurate. It's like sad because like the way she writes about it sounds like she's describing a post-apocalyptic hellhole, and she's describing 2016. The only thing that she got wrong is that we in the book we didn't give up on the space program a decade ago, and so we're already on Mars in the book. But in the real world, we gave up on the space program, and now we have to buy space from Tesla and Amazon, which fits the themes of this book exactly. So it's like she got it wrong, but the real life was closer to her book than she was. And it's fantastic. So for the uninitiated, it is about this girl, Lauren, who lives in the suburbs of LA called Robledo, and in this post-apocalyptic hellhole, the rich are very rich and the poor are very poor, and people work several jobs and still can't get enough money to be able to afford basic things. And so a lot of the poor people are having to like live off the land again, and crime is crazy because people can't afford to do most of anything. And the whole like shtick of the book is that our person, Lauren, is starting a new religion, and the religion is says that God is change, and you can change the face of God by preparing for that change, but change is inevitable, and things like that. And it's just really freaking good, and I really recommend reading it before we actually do wall off suburbia, because it's not safe to be anywhere that's not rich. But it's so good, and I highly recommend it. And yes, I know it's like 30 years old and everybody has probably read it, but you two specifically have not. So very, very large recommend there.
Cool. But can I complain about something really quick?
Absolutely.
The PlayStation app, its search function is terrible.
Absolute garbage.
So I searched the phrase Cult of the Lamb. Let me read you the list of products that came up before Cult of the Lamb. The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, Cult of Personality, Living Color, The Night of Queen, Nerf Legends, Lost Worlds, Beyond the Page, The Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan Curator's Cut, Final Fantasy XV, Memories of King's Knight, Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight, Marvel's Spider-Man, The City That Never Sleeps, Ghost of Tsushima, Legends, Unlock, Castlevania Advance Collection, Dragon Quest Heroes, Fandagoos, MLB The Show 22 PS4, Nerf Legends, Onoa Fantasy Reverie Series Special Bundle, The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, 9 Monkeys of Shaolin. Then we get Cult of the Lamb, which is the exact phrase I searched for.
Jesus Christ.
Well, really, if you think about it, MLB The Show and Cult of the Lamb have a lot of ties thematically.
Yeah, when you started the list, I was like, okay, maybe, like, because a lot of algorithms you can buy to make the algorithm point at you more. And I was like, maybe, like, Devolver has a thing where they're like, oh, if people search for Cult of the Lamb, like, bump us up in the thing. And because Binding of Isaac is a super popular game compared, it got pushed to the top. But then you got to Nerf Legends, and that idea went out the window.
Also, the second result is a Rock Band track. So,
yeah,
I don't think that's happening there.
No. That's silly. But yeah, I think that's all the interesting stuff I have to talk about. So, let's talk about some Kevin plot after the short interlude where we listen to some Kevin music.
Cry for me, 君の声かき込めてる叫んでる僕の名前を
So, as you probably don't remember from last week, because last week was about 2 months ago, it turns out that Phantasma is all Kevin's fault. The Lord of Phantasma is Rufina, and the 7 planes of Phantasma are the 7 rings of hell that Kevin wanted to put himself through for killing his mother and leaving Rufina to die. His friends all agreed that this was silly, and they saved him from hell anyways. This week, Kevin apologizes for all that's happened, and his friends are like, yeah, nothing really to apologize for. Kind of all makes sense. So let's just go power of friendship the fuck out of Phantasma. Celeste shows up and says that she's found Phantasma, but she's not on any of the planes, but outside of them. Trouble is, the part of Phantasma that's outside of the planes is approximately the size of the entire continent, so they can't really walk there. So Tita is like, well, why don't we just use that replica of our sail from the first plane and just think really hard that it works? Because if Phantasma is all about wishes, maybe if we do believe in fairies, we do, the airplane will turn on. And everyone's like, yeah, makes sense. And Celeste is like, yeah, that'll definitely work. But she warns us that it's a one-way trip because it's so far from the garden that her teleport powers won't work. So everyone is freed up to do any remaining side quests that they feel like, and you don't even have to bring Kevin or Reese this time. But we already covered all the side content, so let's just board the damn ship. Once aboard, everyone wishes for a flying car, and we get one. And then we drive it so fast that we break through the planes, and we end up floating above a desolate wasteland, like sand, broken shit everywhere. While we're trying to locate Phantasma and figure out where to go, the silver Dragion, Layways mech, whatever the fuck it was called, it shows up out of nowhere, chasing us from the planes. But Gilbert decides to use his own thought magic to get his own mech back and fight the silver dragon for us so that we can get away. So we zoom off towards wherever the Lord of Phantasma is, and we find a like Kingdom Hearts looking ass castle on a big rock out in the wasteland. And as we approach, the big giant doors open to let us in. Once we land, Kevin is tired of his bullshit and he yells out for Rufina to show herself. She says no, and instead makes us do a dungeon. We have to split the party into 4 teams of 4 and each do a different leg of the dungeon, kind of like Kefka's Tower. What were you guys' teams?
Okay, so I figured Kevin and Reese have to go together. This is a rule, not just something I made up. The Rufina says they have to go together. So I was like, well, they're my main characters. They're the ones I've put the most effort into. They can take care of themselves. Surely they won't have to fight the hardest boss in the entire series with whatever 2 I send with them. So I'll send Annalise and Josette with them. Not exactly the A team. So yeah, that's who I sent with them. Other than that, I'm trying to remember. I tried to split it up so that I had a fairly leveled person with underleveled people with them. And the first few fights of each section of the dungeon were pretty rough. I had Estelle with Rin, Tita, and Agate. I had Joshua with Chloe and Julia and someone else. And I believe I had Olivier, Richard, Mueller, and someone else. Sherazard was in there somewhere, and someone else, probably.
Yeah. Rin and Sherazard were the last 2 you didn't talk about.
No, I mentioned Rin.
Did you?
Yes.
And I have no idea.
Rin was with Estelle and Agate and Tita.
Okay.
I tried to put people together who were meaningful in case there was meaningful dialogue, which there really wasn't. There was a tiny little bit where I got very lucky.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? Do you remember who you sent?
If we recall, last time on Dragon Ball Z, last time's the last time. I still haven't. I've just been watching video because my laptop died and I had to get it replaced. And the video I was watching said a lot of words that made a lot of sense to explain his team composition, but I don't remember what he was using or who he was using in what combination.
Okay. My Vita wouldn't charge yesterday, so I didn't have time to play, and I wrote my notes based on the LP. But the LP's teams made a lot of sense. They probably did it on purpose because it's their second time playing the game. But for the right gate, they did Rin, Tita, Josette, and Annalise. For the left gate, they did Chloe and Julia and Olivier and Mueller. Then for the center gate, they did Agate, Shara, Zen, and Richard. And then the big gate, they did Kevin, Reese, Estelle, and Joshua. Putting all of those people together makes a lot of sense. Like Estelle and Joshua being together, Kevin and Reese being together, obviously, Rin and Tita being together, Chloe and Julia, Olivier and Mueller. And then at the right gate is the one where you face Patermater. So Rin and Tita being in that one is pretty great. And
yes, I got that I had Rin and Tita in that one. I was like, whoa, that's really lucky. I wonder if just wherever you send Rin is where Patermater shows up, but from the video I watched to see the ending, because I could not beat the final boss, I saw that that's not the case.
Yeah. But yeah, so you do the 3 smaller wings first, and nothing happens. There's a mini boss and then a boss at the end that we don't get to fight yet. And The right gate has a golden pater mater. The left gate faces a souped up reverie mech monster thing. And then the center gate faces a red version of Ragnar the dragon. And the giant gate, where Kevin and Reese go, at the end of that one is Rufina. When you get there, she says that she didn't expect Kevin to resist Weissman's offer to become a meat puppet. And Kevin is like, shut up, let's just fight before Phantasma takes over the real world. Apparently, thousands upon thousands of years of storing people's wishes has made the Phantasma's hard drive get full, but thankfully they can just dump all the demons and shit out into the real world to make some room. Rufina's like, this would be a good thing, because then all it would take would be to get every single person on the planet to agree and wish for peace, and then it would happen. Easy peasy. Kevin is like, good luck. And also, that's stupid, because that would have happened back when Phantasma was online the first time, and it didn't. Instead, it got real bad real fast. That's why it was shut down and locked away for 1,000 years. He tells Rufina that he knows that the real Rufina wouldn't be acting like this, and this is just his moping about his past made manifest. And now that he's finally walking in the right direction, and he'll one day be back to the place where Rufina once was. Rufina is like, dumbass, saying that I'm better than you in a dream world where thoughts become reality just means I'm going to kick your ass. Kevin is like, true, but I said Rufina is better than me, not you. You're just, quote, the copy of my stigma that was made here 6 months ago, which I don't know what that means. I've lost all sense of timing here.
You know what a stigma is.
We know what a stigma is.
I totally understand stigmas and what they are and how they can be copied and become a thing, and I know all that.
Yeah, this is JRPG 101.
Yeah. I'm guessing that 6 months ago was when they were fighting on the areola in last game, and Phantasma made a copy of his stigma then, but he didn't use it then. He used the salt pail. So I don't know. Whatever. The final boss is now the stigma. It's not Rufina anymore. Just go with it. It wouldn't be a real JRPG if a concept of something didn't turn out to be the real boss at the very end. Why punch a dude when you can instead punch the concept of death? So, Kevin promises to beat the shit out of his stigma so that he can save Rufina. So then we have to fight all of these bosses that I've mentioned so far at the same time. Me and Matt got out easy. Bernard, how was the boss rush?
Okay, so the first three bosses are really hard, really engaging fights. Sometimes they're bullshit because they start off with the main boss and a bunch of the angel enemies you've been fighting, or I've been fighting throughout the whole place. And the bosses and the angels get to attack first. And sometimes you'll just get a really bad roll, and like the angels will inflict status effects on you and get criticals and shit. And so that's bad. But really engaging fights. Eventually I got to the final fight against the Stigma, and it was kicking my ass. There was a little bit of a thing to it. I got past the part where there was a thing to it, but then eventually the Stigma just kept inflicting freeze on my people, and that was no good, and so I lost. So I was like, okay, I need to equip them with anti-freeze equipment. However, that meant I had to load a save before the three bosses, because that's the only time when you can equip your party. And even if you do load a save before the cutscene that goes into for boss fights, you can only re-equip the Kevin party. So hope your other parties are good. So, but anyway, my other parties were good. So I equipped everyone in Kevin party with anti-freeze technology. And I went back and fought again, and I survived the part where it was freezing me. But then it did a giant attack where it flew off the planet and shot a beam at the planet. One shot everyone in my party when everyone was at full health.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I guess I need to try this again and try to have Kevin's Grail Sphere thing on so I don't get got. The problem is I'm having to use that constantly to not get got otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And also I would need to go back, re-equip my party, see if I have any CP regain equipment left that I can put on Kevin, which, because I don't know if I do, because I know I put one on Olivier and I forget if I put the others on other people, but I would have to do that, then go through all three of the other boss fights, which are long, then go through another attempt at the final boss fight, which is so long. I didn't have the time or will to do it.
Yeah. That sounds yuck.
I do think having a big boss rush with every character in the game is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they should have let me re-equip the entire party beforehand, and also not made each fight so long, and especially the final fight, not make it so long and so difficult.
Yeah. I would really like it if it had the Final Fantasy 13 thing, where if you retry from the fight, it takes you to the menu first, so you can finagle all your things. One of the recent Tales game, Tales of, God damn it, this Trails and Tales that speak at the same time is difficult. But one of the Tales games I played recently did that as well, where if you had to run or restart from a boss fight, it took you to the menu and you could fix stuff up. But yeah, so the stigma, the boss that we're fighting, it started as like just a symbology rune, but then it turned into like a Ansem monarch butterfly flesh mech thing called Anima. And after you finally kill it, it changes from red into blue and then blows up, leaving behind regular Rufina, not the Lord of Phantasma Rufina. She says that she's proud of Kevin for never giving up, but she says that the stigma isn't dead yet. She's just holding it inside of her. So the only way to fully get rid of it is to kill it by killing her. And she wants Kevin to do it. Reese is like, no, he can't do it again. It like nearly killed him last time. Like, no. And Kevin is like, no, I have to do it. And Reese is like, well, if you have to do it, then let me do it with you. I'm tired of watching things happen to me. I want to take an active part in my own destiny. So if my sister has to die again, I want to be a part of it. So she walks up to Kevin, and we get bespoke sprite animations of her grabbing his bowgun with him, and they aim it at Rufina. And Rufina says that if Kevin and Reese really want to follow in her footsteps, they should seek to go farther than she did and be better than she was. They say that they will, and shoot Rufina in the face. Reese cries, and Kevin tells her that it'll be okay and that they'll keep pushing forward to make Rufina proud. It fades to black, and then Kevin and Reese wake up on the floor, surrounded by the party. Apparently, Rufina had pulled their souls into a nowhere space to have the final confrontation.
I mean, the whole game has taken place in a nowhere space, but now their souls were taken to a nowhere space within the nowhere space.
Yes. Celeste shows back up, and she says that when they killed the stigma, it returned her power, so she can send us all home. And she says that we need to make like a rope and escape because Phantasma is starting to collapse on itself now that the stigma is dead. And because subtlety is not her strong suit, she opens the literal gates of heaven to be our portal home. She could have just like teleported people out, but nah, she had to be on the nose there. So everyone says their goodbyes.
Also, she says that it's about to collapse any minute, but they sure take their fucking time.
Yeah, they really do. So everyone says their goodbyes and they enter 2 by 2. Zin and Richard go first just because they're oldest.
Because the classic pair, Zin and Richard, those two characters who have definitely spoken to each other before, even once.
Yeah. And it's not like this 2 by 2 rule is going to be broken fairly soon. So why couldn't they have broken it with Richard and Zin as well? Like, it makes no sense. Anyways, they go first and they don't really have anything interesting to say. After them goes Olivier and Mueller. Olivier is Olivier, and Mueller warns everybody that the Erebonian Empire has some stormy days ahead of it because, much like Matt, he's already played Cold Steel, so he knows. Up next is Annalise and Shara, and before she leaves, Annalise tells Ren to really think about if she likes Joshua and Estelle or not, and Shara wishes Joshua and Estelle luck on their manga chapters. After them is Tita and Agate, who presumably go off to get shot at by Erica. Ren tells Tita to make her Metal Gear super awesome so that they can fight in their mechs together one day. Next is Chloe and Julia and Sieg. Chloe pauses before she leaves to talk to Celeste, and she apologizes for being weak and not living up to her legacy. Celeste says that she also had no idea what the fuck she was doing back in her day either, and that it's totally okay to not know what's going on as long as you try your best.
It all worked out great for Celeste.
Yep.
So I'm sure it'll work out great for Chloe too.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah.
So Josette leaves by herself, and she takes the opportunity to fight with Estelle over Joshua some more. After Josette leaves, Ren is confused. She asks why we're all smiling even though we're having to say goodbye. Most people are saying goodbye to then leave to be several countries away. They're not going to be... like, we might never see these people again. She says, we could have stayed in Phantasma and used its wishing powers to make a paradise and never have to leave. And Josh was like, I get it. You miss them and you don't know what that's supposed to be like, and you're afraid you're never going to see them again. And she's like, no, I don't give a shit about people. That's my whole shtick, is not giving a shit about people. Estelle goes up to her to comfort her, and she says that the reason we're all smiling is because parting is inevitable. Every day with someone could be your last day with them, and that's why they have to smile. They're all being brave and promising to meet each other again because it could happen, and that makes it easier to keep going. Estelle asks Ren to smile with her. They can't promise to be together forever, but Estelle and Joshua love her, and they want to watch over her. Joshua's like, you don't have to decide right now, but we've decided we want to be your family. Ren's like, what the fuck? Estelle says that Cassius has already filled out the paperwork to adopt her. All they need is Ren's consent, and then they can be a family together. And Ren is like, fuck that. I'm going to run away forever. And Estelle's like, have you fucking met me? I don't know when to quit, so I'll just follow you anyways. Ren is like, I hate you, but I love you just as much. Suck a dick, dumb shits. And she runs through the gate. Kevin and Reese have been watching the whole time, so they wish Estelle and Joshua Godspeed on catching up with Ren and say that they can't wait to meet up again. So Estelle and Joshua run off through the gate as well. Kevin and Reese are like, well, time to leave. We definitely didn't forget anyone else behind. And then, of course, Gilbert shows up. Apparently, Celeste showed up to him in his mech when he was fighting the thing and was like, hey, the castle's that way. That's how you can get home. Everything's collapsing. See you later. And then left him. Didn't teleport him or anything. So he had to run and hurry to get here. And he almost missed the boat. He tells Kevin and Reese that there's still going to be enemies on the outside, but he's going to work really hard and get stronger next time. He promises. And I don't know if we ever fight Gilbert again, but I would love for him to still be level 50 with his shitty equipment from second chapter. Because that's what he's been every time, and it would be hilarious. Like, he just shows up in Cold Steel 4 as pitifully weak. But he runs off through the gate. So Celeste says the time is very running out now, and once everyone is through, she's going to go back to sleep in the garden, and hopefully no one wakes her up again, and Phantasma can just stop existing. And as soon as we step through the gate, she's going to turn off the Rubik's Cube so that no one can come in again, and Kevin promises that he's going to give it to Erica. So then Kevin and Reese walk through the gate together, and the credits roll. After the credits, we see Carnelia, the real one, not the book, talking on the phone with Kevin. She used her contacts to check in on Olivier, Mueller, Zen, Josette, Estelle, and Joshua, and everyone is safe and sound. Kevin himself has checked in on all the ones that were in Liberal, but him and Carnelia both couldn't check on Gilbert and Ren because they belong to a Shadow Society thing. Kevin says,
I was surprised they even remembered Gilbert.
Yeah. they nearly left him in a nowhere space forever. Why even check in on him now? Kevin says that he'll give Carnelia a full debrief back at Pope HQ when he's done, and Carnelia's like, wow, you've changed, bro. The old Kanye would have never checked up on the people he worked with. He wouldn't have cared. And Kevin is like, yeah, that's kind of a whole thing. I'll tell you about it later. But quick question, is it possible to change a Dominion title after you've already chosen it? He says that he doesn't want to only be a heretic hunter anymore. He wants to be something cool like the Black Arrow or Blue Justice. And Carnelia is like, you can change your name on the condition that Reese picks it out for you because you suck and all of your names are bad. And that is the end of Trails in the Sky.
That took a long time, that series.
It did.
I can't believe there was this much density in these three games, and I know it would be absolutely ludicrous to expect them to continue this for another 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
That would be literally impossible. So this trilogy stands alone as its own thing, and we'll never get a sequel to it.
Yep. Who could follow it up? Especially who could follow it up with multiple games that people say are the best ones in the series? Mm-hmm. Definitely not all uphill from here. But before we talk about our final thoughts and our memorable moments and stuff like that, let's listen to the track Dancing with the Wind and close it out. All right, so this is a memorable moment from the LP. Like, they broke character to write this out, and I thought it was super cool, and I did not piece it together myself. So you guys might not have pieced it together either. But as you know, the stated goal of the Anima Mundi, or the Lord of Phantasma, was to punish Kevin and send him to hell for the shit that he did. But all of the people that we've ran into in Phantasma have been Kevin's allies. We fought several of them, but including Rufina and Leeway turned tail and was a good guy at the end of last game. Every single one of them was a good guy. We still had to fight a couple of them, but they were all good. And even when we ran into Weissman, he still wanted to help Kevin in his weird, crazy sort of way. Anima itself is based on Rufina, who is like Kevin's number one fan for 15 years running, and was built from his stigma. The stigmas, as we all know, are powerful magic things, but they're not ever malicious. It's all just a power that they have. So if everyone's personality is as intact as if Anima's personality is as intact as everyone else's there, it wouldn't be wanting to hurt Kevin. If it wanted to, it could have just not done the 7 rings of hell. It could have just dropped him into hell itself and trapped him forever. It could have done anything besides calling in all of his friends to give him the power of friendship. It could have done anything else. But what it did do is heal Kevin. All of this was not about punishing Kevin the way that he wanted. It was about making Kevin stop punishing himself. So the Rufina and all of that of it was it was the friends we made along the way. It wasn't even a big scary bad guy in the end. I don't think it actually would have broken out of Phantasma and tried to take over the world. I think it was all here to just make Kevin grow, which is super cool.
It truly was all just an elaborate birthday party for Kevin.
It really was. Similarly, the very first text box of this chapter is Kevin saying, "In other words, all of this, everything that's happened is my fault. All of your victims who had the misfortune of knowing me and getting dragged into this." And as you definitely remember, because it was a throwaway line 2 chapters ago, he said, "I can't pretend to be much of an expert on what Phantasma itself is, but I've got a pretty good idea as to who's responsible for all of this. I can only think of one person twisted enough to put us through all that we've been through. The short version is they're a real piece of work, a cunning, arrogant, cold-hearted son of a bitch who doesn't even see people as people." And he was talking about himself. Poor Kevin.
There's a bit too much writing in these games, but the writing is good.
It is. I have several more. Do y'all have other Mim Moms before we just talk about the game in general?
Okay, so when Gilbert summons his mech to go fight the Dragon, or whatever it's called, there is this huge, extended, long even by Kiseki standards, thing about how he is having a face turn and he's going to be a hero and everything, and he'll hold them off while they escape and stuff. And so he flies out in his mech, and it's established that he can't win this fight. He can just, hold them off and maneuver around and distract it. So he flies out there, and the Arcel is flying away. And then 2 more Dragians fly up, and he's like, Arcel, I take it all back. But they're out of range. and it was very funny. Gilbert's comic relief has been mixed in how well it has landed for me, but I found that very funny.
Right before, like when he's given his big monologue, he ends it with, "The time has finally come to show you all my true brilliance." And Kevin goes, "Wow, you actually got some?" Which is fantastic. What about you, Matt? Do you have some min-moms from this section?
Yes, but no.
Yeah, memorable moments because somebody accidentally said one tiny thing that becomes the entire plot of a future game.
Yeah. So I would like it stated on the record that I do have them, but I've been yelled at for in the past.
So one thing y'all might not have gotten to see because y'all didn't actually play it is that in the final dungeon, it's called like Phantasmagoria or whatever. When you're in the castle, the treasure box messages become mostly like half of them are like just really encouraging things like, "You made it this far, keep going." And there are also some that like just have messages from the localization staff saying like, "It was such an honor to work on this. Thank you for coming on this journey with me, -B," or something like that. And I was like, I love this. This is making me emotional about the end of this journey, which is just the beginning of another journey, which will be the beginning of another journey, which will be the beginning of another journey. And by the time we complete that journey, there will probably be another journey.
Yeah, especially when
it's over.
When you think that this first trilogy especially had the Kiseki curse so much, like all of these people like ruined their own lives trying to bring these games to the West, and they did it. They finished it. We're now finishing the game. We're now done, and it finally is coming out, and it's just it was great. I read a bunch of them in the LP. The LP by Really Pants on the LP archive is really good. He goes and gets every single text box in the entire game. So if you can't play this game for whatever reason, I highly recommend reading his LP because you get the full experience.
Except getting your ass kicked by the final boss and not being able to actually beat the game because of that.
Yeah. One final mim-mom that I had is during the talk with Good Rufina at the very end. I don't even remember the context, but Rufina out of nowhere snaps and in big text is like, "You're a grown man, Kevin. Start acting like one. Damn it. ... is probably what Cornelia would have said in the situation if she were with us. But she's not, though, so go with your heart. Do whatever. And I just thought that was a cute little turnaround.
We don't get a lot of characterization of real Rufina, but she seems like intense and weird.
Yeah. I mean, she saved a little orphan boy on the street by mama birding chocolate into his mouth.
Yeah, so, that's not something a normal person does.
No. We've spent like 100 hours with Estelle Bright, and yeah, I don't think anybody is as intense and weird as Rufina. But yeah, we just spent 100 hours with Estelle Bright. How did you like it?
I like Estelle Bright. She's really good.
Yeah.
I am so glad I played these games. The tone of the writing and the absolute extent to which people keep talking in scenes started to wear thin on me. For me. I really think a lot of these scenes could have been cut down a bit.
Yeah.
But hey, it's still good. And second chapter is absolutely phenomenal, and first chapter is really great, and third chapter is really neat.
Yeah. I love all of the like background information that we get here in third chapter, but could have been like a data log in second chapter. It's very neat that they did a super dungeon in a game series that's famous for having a big sprawling world where all the NPC dialogue updates, and the kind of entire opposite of that is the third game. But I'm glad it was weird and different. It just was weird.
Yeah, I really liked how weird and different the third game was. I think that's just a really neat, bold thing to do.
And I really agree that all of the cutscenes could be a lot shorter, but I'm kind of glad that they're not, in a way. It's way too talky, and everybody has to chime in constantly, but it's like the exact opposite problem of Rogue Galaxy, where once somebody joined your party, they disappeared and they never mattered. They matter too much in this game, but too much is way better than not enough. And yes, it's kind of annoying that Olivier has to talk about seducing Joshua every single thing, but I have an opinion on Olivier where I don't have an opinion on Lilica from Rogue Galaxy, besides the fact that her planet's music sucks really bad.
Yeah, I think just the fact that you have 16 people in every scene after you get a bit into the game, sort of makes it a problem.
Yeah, I think I don't think you get 16 party members in every scene ever again. I think this is definitely critical mass of the too many people are here and all of them are talking problem. Hopefully. I know you run a school at some point in Cold Steel, and schools
I love running schools.
Schools famously have a lot more than 16 people in them, so who knows? But
oh man,
yeah,
I run a school. I loved Fire Emblem Three Houses, even though the plot was complete nonsense.
Yeah, I really like stuff like that too. Yeah, I really really like these games. I'm glad that I decided to ruin my life and add a third podcast to the podcast, because I probably wouldn't have gotten around to finishing these myself, because they're really big and very easy to just get distracted and do all of the side content. Like, it's we had sections through second chapter to talk about the side content, and I still talked about like maybe a quarter of all of the side content in that game. Like, there's just so much crap to do constantly. And I probably would have never ever finished, but I'm glad I did, because they're fantastic, and I can't wait to play a new one. Like, a lot of people have played Crossbell already, but not the average person. And we get to get in on the ground floor next, in literally 1 month, because it comes out September 23rd. So literally 1 month from recording, we will be playing.
I thought it was the 27th.
Was it the 27th? I could have sworn it was 23rd. Either way.
I'm usually right about everything.
It's true.
But I am double checking. But yes, about a month. I know myself, and I know if I had just tried to play these games on my own, I would have gotten like halfway through first chapter and been loving it, but just fallen off of it for no reason. And then constantly, like every month, had a moment of, oh, well, I really want to finish that, but at this point I would really need to restart. And that's a lot of time, and so I'm glad I was forced to do it. And yes, it comes out in North America on September 27th. I was right, as I always am.
True. What about you, Matt? How did you like going back in time and playing this trilogy?
I have been trying to think about how to approach this. Oh boy, there's not a great way to do it.
I mean, you can say, I love the way that it ties into future games, and just don't tell us the way that it ties in.
Yeah, I do really like the way it ties into future games. So having played, because I had played long before I played Trails of Cold Steel. I had played 2 or 3 Legend of Heroes games on the PSP that weren't related to this series at all.
Bless you, Sam.
What?
I said the name of the trilogy, which is the Gagharv trilogy, and Bernard said, bless you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I had it wrong and I mixed it up with the series again. Now that we've played Trails in the Sky, this was an interesting left turn for the series.
Mm-hmm.
And having seen what future work looks like, it's kind of amazing that this is what they came up with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pivoting from those games, which are they're tied together
Mm-hmm.
more loosely than
this
Rat King of a series. Don't Google what that is. I made the mistake of it. Don't do that.
Oh, I know what it is, and I hope to never see a picture of one.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's awful.
Gross.
But it's unfortunately one of the. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I have there's like 14 pages of things I want to say, and like 3/4 of it's redacted. But it. Okay, here's a good way of saying it. Now playing kind of the launching point for this conglomeration of a series, right? It makes me happy the things that they expanded upon from the even older series, like the stuff they decided to keep versus the stuff they decided to like not discard but implement in different ways is really awesome. And it just gets better. It gets so good. But it's really cool to see kind of the, I guess, almost prototype of one of my favorite series of all time. But it's like a prototype at the same time as it's a prequel. Words are hard. It's good. I like it. It's great. I would have probably eventually played it on my own, just not moving from my desk for weeks at a time, like I did with the last series, or the first, the next, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm glad I got to play it like at a reasonable human pace with reasonable humans instead of like my nightmarish, I don't need to sleep or eat properly pace that I usually play video games at.
Yeah. The fact that 72 hours after Xenoblade Chronicles 3 launched, you posted how great the ending was, and this game is about 72 hours long is the normal way that you eat RPGs.
I slept a total of 14 hours that week.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to a very important member of the Kiseki community, and that's the Sony PlayStation Portable. Legend of Heroes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 all came out for the PSP, which is just ridiculous.
And there were some East games on there.
Uh-huh.
And
Falcon
East versus Trails in the Sky and
the
Legend
Kiseki
of
spinoff.
Nayuta, Boundless Trails.
Yeah, there probably is also like a Xanadu or something on there that we're just not even thinking of. But yeah, the PSP was ridiculous for just knocking it out of the park with this stuff.
Man, have I ever tell you guys that story? Like, it was 5 years after the PSP, like 5 years into the Vita, when I found out that the PSP wasn't, like, widely considered one of the best systems ever. I was like, really? Did you see what games were on it? It had a movie player.
Yeah, the PSP is badass, and it really doesn't get enough credit. But
I mean, I think it gets almost enough credit.
Yeah,
I think now it gets almost enough credit.
Yeah, I think now people look back and are like, wow, look at all these, what a great RPG machine. But all of the games from the non-RPG series that had a release on the PSP, I hate them a lot. So it just did really good at RPGs. And if you don't have a PSP, you should go get one, because if you've stuck around through 2 years of us talking about Kiseki, you like RPGs enough to go and get yourself a PSP. And there's a lot of good shit on there. And PSPs are very easily hackable, so do with that what you will.
Oh shit, Falcom released a game on the N-Gage.
Jesus Christ, Falcom.
Xanadu Next was released on the N-Gage and later on PC. However, it looks like they're like completely different games. Aw, man, I want to get an N-Gage now. Is there an N-Gage emulator?
Yes,
I never heard of this thing.
Can you get N-Gage?
You've never heard of the N-Gage?
No.
Oh my gosh, the Nokia M-Gage?
Oh my god.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it was a cell phone that had kind of, if you squint, approaching PS1 graphics on it, but your keypad was a phone pad, and it did not do justice to any of the games that got put on it. But they were trying to predict mobile gaming before the iPhone came out. They just made it too crappy of a phone and not good enough of a game console, so it didn't do well. To use it as a phone, you literally had to hold it sideways like a taco and talk into it the side of your phone, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it owns, and I want one.
Yeah, there's a surprising number of games on it, by which I mean 63. Which is still more than I would have expected.
Mm-hmm.
You got Puyo Pop, you got a Red Faction game, which the system was not very powerful. It was in 2003, so you know. But oh man, now I want to play. I want to play every N-Gage game.
Yeah.
Y'all remember when Sony was like, "Hey, we put a PSP in a phone."
The Xperia Play.
When I was like 12 or 14 or whatever the age that was like the height of, like, that was my one life goal. I could have that phone and then die.
And now our phones have fucking Dragon Quest 8 on them.
Yeah.
Just the full ass PS2 game on your phone.
Well,
and it's
not
had
the
it's
full
had that
PS2 game. It doesn't. It's missing some stuff.
Yeah, but I'm sure if they would have done it now, it would have been the full PS2 game. But the iPhone 4 was the first phone that could play the entire PS2 game of Dragon Quest 8, which is it's insane to me that mobile gaming can be real these days.
Mm-hmm.
But none of this has anything to do with Trails in the Sky. Any final words on this sub-series before we sign off and come back for 2 more episodes about the sub-series, but in a silly way?
No.
Cool. Nothing I should say.
Yeah, shout outs to Matt, because I don't know if this is a bit, but it's always like, all right, this chapter was great. Nothing happened. We just fed our cat for 15 hours this week. It was enjoyable, and that's it. And Matt's like, I can't talk about this chapter because it involves Trails of Cold Steel so tightly, or whatever. It's never like, oh, hey, we just went and fought a bad guy, and you're like, oh, that bad guy comes back. It's always like, yeah, we were watering flowers outside of the castle, and you're like, oh my god, just wait for the watering flowers content in 3 games from now.
So there's a thing, Sam probably knows this, but everyone else is going to find it out. If I think even a little bit something is related to something else in the game, I will immediately Google it. Because I'm really bad about missing things. So that's a big part in several instances where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's from here and that's from there. Yeah. A lot of it, admittedly, is probably not as big of details for future games, but here's a good one. As this game has demonstrated, even little details are so interwoven into big details that, like, 1 second I'm talking about the cat petting mechanic and, like, how it gets better and better, and suddenly I'm telling you that Darth Vader was Luke's father all along.
Yeah. I'm excited for us to get through Crossbell and then get through Arabonia, so then we can have new things to discover together. And we will gloss over something in Hajimari and Okiseki that becomes the foundation on which whatever the next chapter after Kuro no Kiseki will be.
Oh man, I'm looking at some Xanadu Next Engage gameplay. It looks so shitty.
Hell yeah.
I'm trying to find it.
I gotta send this video to Maddie Grace Webbins. She'll play it immediately.
I used to have real quick while we're talking about weird phone stuff. I used to play Final Fantasy 1 and 2 on this weird LG like boxy shaped slider phone. And every couple of years I try and find that phone again. Is this it? Because that's the reason I played Final Fantasy 1 so many times. I played that a lot. I got every penny of that $14 out of that purchase.
But in lieu of becoming a tech podcast for tech from 2003, that'll do it for the week. This series is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters. So if you're hearing this in the podcast feed, come on over to www.rpgbook.club, where there will be a few extra episodes waiting on you when you donate. We are trying really hard to move back to weekly, at least for the time being, for the next bit. So you should have quite a few extra episodes waiting on you when you go donate. On the Ko-Fi, we now have membership tiers. So if you donate $1 or more a month, you get all of the same stuff you get if you do a one-off donation, which lets you vote on our polls for our main game, and most importantly, get access to these episodes a month before everyone else. But then we also now have two more tiers, a $5 tier where we shout out your name every episode, like this. Shout outs to Aaron524, Cerebral Win, Anthony Lerma, Vimk, JFro Prime, Eli Bergmas, Doho, and Tuxedo Kin. We also then have a $20 a month tier where we will also read a one-sentence plug of your choosing. Currently, our friend Carr is the only person at this tier, and he's a dentist, so his plug is not for his Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. And he wants to remind you to brush your teeth twice a day, especially before you go to bed. For Book Club no Kiseki, I've been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
Adios, amigos.